Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
At this point, what had become quite obvious and evident about Rachel Zegler is that despite whatever media training she may have had, she's very good at alienating not only her viewers, but just viewers in general with everything that she says and every social media post she makes.
There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion.
But I know a story of a dangerous obsession with female beauty. It's called Snow White and the Seven.
Rachel Zegler didn't just lose a role, she became a case study in how to blow up your own career in record time. This is the girl who went from being handpicked by Steven Spielberg to being roasted as the most hated actress in Hollywood. How? By torching her own image, dragging Disney into one of their biggest financial flops in years, and turning herself into meme material overnight. It's the kind of downfall you'd expect in a Hollywood satire, except it's very real. Zegler's story isn't just about a failed movie. It's about what happens when ego collides with the internet.
At Disney, Zegler pulled a con so bold in London, audiences were screaming refund in 4 languages. Let's just say that thanks to Zegler, a bad publicity stunt, and a few hundred smartphones, the big number she was supposed to sing in Evita is now all over social media.
When political preaching replaces charm, and when an actress bites the hand that feeds her. And it all started with one very big gamble, Disney betting over $200 million that Rachel Zegler could save Snow White. Instead, she buried it.
I'm a narcissist.
But before the hashtags, the memes and the boycotts, Rachel was supposed to be Hollywood's next sweetheart. How did a 17-year-old Broadway hopeful go from the next big thing to box office poison? Buckle up, because if you think this was just about a movie, you're in for the full story, and it gets way uglier from here.
It's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Snow White bombs, breaks records for the lowest live-action remake opening.
Back in 2020, Rachel Zegler's story sounded like a fairy tale. At just 17, she scored the role of Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Spielberg himself called her a once-in-a-generation talent. Critics praised her, casting directors circled like vultures. And suddenly, Rachel wasn't just a newcomer, she was the next big thing. She even bagged a Golden Globe, becoming one of the youngest winners in history. Disney noticed too. They wanted her as the face of their live-action Snow White reboot, a bold $200 million project that was supposed to revive their struggling live-action lineup.
The very first actress in history to become box office poison before she ever came box office.
Rachel had the look, the voice, the hype. On paper, it seemed like a slam dunk. But here's the thing about Hollywood fairy tales. They can sour fast. That wide-eyed young actress who once gushed about loving musicals quickly evolved into someone who openly mocked the very role she was hired to play. Disney wanted a princess. What they got was a political lightning rod who seemed more interested in giving TED Talks than delivering movie magic. And the internet, well, it doesn't forgive easily. But first, let's talk about what Disney thought they were buying and what they actually got.
It was a wholesome family film, and now they've turned it into woke trash. Check this out from Wokeness. Disney's Snow White said that harm should befall Trump and his voters. Do not see this film.
Disney threw everything at this Snow White remake. Over $200 million for production, reportedly another $100 million for marketing. They wanted a modern, empowered princess for the TikTok generation, and Rachel was their star. But from the jump, controversy brewed. Gone was the soft-spoken, kind princess from 1937. Instead, Rachel promised a new Snow White who didn't need a prince, didn't dream of love, and wasn't about to wait for some guy to save her. That might sound empowering in theory, but to the families who grew up with the original, it felt like an attack on a beloved classic. Rachel didn't help. On press tours, she trashed a prince as a stalker, called the original story weird, and even mocked the idea of love as outdated. And she wasn't subtle, she said it all with a smugness that critics and fans alike found grating. Imagine getting paid millions to play an iconic character only to publicly insult it. It was a PR nightmare in slow motion. Instead of building hype, Disney's own star turned the film into a cultural battlefield. And then came the backlash. But we're only scratching the surface of how bad this would get.
Rachel Zegler, being 23 or whatever she is, like so many kids raised on TikTok, she's all for infantada is the only global solution.
An iconic song, yes, but it's the balcony grabbing all the attention.
By the time the first trailers dropped, the internet was on fire. Hashtags like Not My Snow White trended, with fans accusing Disney of hijacking a childhood classic for political messaging. It wasn't just conservatives. Even apolitical moviegoers felt insulted by Rachel's comments. Why remake something if you clearly hate the original? One viral post asked. And that summed up the sentiment. Then came the real disaster: box office numbers. After all that hype and money, the US opening weekend barely scraped $43 million. By week 2, the film nosedived with a brutal 66% drop in sales. Globally, it tanked, pulling in less than $1 million in China, where Disney normally prints cash. The final tally? Around $150 million in losses. Disney executives were reportedly panicking. Theatre chains quietly pulled it from prime slots, pushing it into midday screenings. Social media roasted Rachel mercilessly, and yet instead of softening her image, she doubled down, posting politically charged content, including an anti-Trump rant, while promoting a family movie. If you wanted to alienate half the country before ticket sales even began, this was how. And while Disney bled cash, Rachel seemed unfazed. But the PR nightmare wasn't over, it was just warming up. Rachel Zegler had all the makings of a Disney darling, but instead of leaning into that charm, she went full diva. Let's start with her infamous fan stories. One fan sang a line from West Side Story to her at a restaurant. Instead of thanking them, Rachel went on late-night TV and said the guy ruined her night. Then there was her Disneyland confession. She admitted she has to pretend to like people when fans stop her for photos. Pretend. Imagine telling your audience you fake every interaction with them. And let's not forget how she publicly dismissed her co-star Andrew Burnap by joking that his scenes might be cut entirely. These weren't harmless quips. They painted a picture of someone arrogant and ungrateful, the opposite of Disney magic. Promo interviews with Gal Gadot were painful to watch, with zero chemistry and awkward tension that fans immediately noticed. Every new soundbite became viral ammo for critics. Rachel wasn't just giving interviews, she was feeding the outrage machine. And with each comment, the narrative solidified. This wasn't a misunderstood actress. This was someone who didn't seem to care about the fans, the film, or the fallout. And then came the controversy that made both sides furious. Originally, Disney planned to cast real actors with dwarfism for the Seven Dwarfs, a rare chance for meaningful roles. But after actor Peter Dinklage called the idea regressive on a podcast, Disney folded. They scrapped the roles and replaced them with CGI. Things. Glowing, soulless, uncanny blobs that looked like they'd been rendered on a PlayStation 2. It pleased no one. The dwarf community publicly blasted Disney for taking away jobs they were excited to play. One actor said bluntly, "Peter's rich, we're not." Progressives called it performative inclusivity. Traditionalists called it sacrilegious. And Rachel. She proudly defended the choice as moving past stereotypes. Great PR move. Tell unemployed actors they should be grateful their roles were handed to a team of animators. It was like Disney was on a mission to alienate every demographic possible. And while executives scrambled to salvage what was left, Rachel kept digging the hole deeper with more political hot takes. She wasn't just the face of this mess, she became the lightning rod for everything wrong with it. And when you thought she'd hit rock bottom, she pulled out a shovel. This is when Rachel stopped being just an actress in a flop. She became an internet character. TikTok lit up with compilations of her most tone-deaf interviews. YouTube flooded with reaction videos calling her the walking red flag princess. Even late-night comedians piled on. When Bill Maher and Candace Owens agree something is woke trash, you know you've unified critics across the aisle. The memes were brutal. Photoshops of Rachel as a political Snow White, clips mocking her crying during Evita performances, and edits of her saying weird on repeat. And the hashtags? #NotMySnowWhite wasn't even the worst. Terms like box office poison, red carpet disaster, and career kryptonite stuck. In the age of social media, perception is everything. Rachel didn't just lose fans. She became a cultural punching bag, the embodiment of what audiences hate about modern Hollywood, arrogant stars lecturing them about the very stories they're supposed to enjoy. And while the internet had fun turning her downfall into a circus, Disney executives reportedly banned her from being the face of any future press campaigns. In other words, Rachel wasn't just cancelled by the audience, she was quietly sidelined by her own studio. With her movie career in flames, Rachel ran back to the stage, headlining Evita in New York. It should have been a safe haven, a chance to rebuild her image. Instead, it became another disaster. In an attempt to modernize the performance, the show started streaming her biggest number on screens outside the venue. For free. Paying audience members were furious. Imagine spending $150 on tickets only to find out people on the street got the same experience for nothing. Ticket sales tanked. Seats had to be given away just to fill the room. Then came the viral clip of Rachel crying during a standing ovation. Was it genuine? Maybe, but the internet wasn't buying it. Most saw it as another PR stunt, a calculated attempt to appear vulnerable after months of arrogance. And then came the whispers. Rumors swirled that Rachel tried to push script changes for modern sensitivity. No concrete proof, but her track record made it believable. Instead of repairing her brand, Rachel's theatre comeback only reinforced the narrative. She couldn't stop making it about herself. Whether on stage, on screen, or online, Rachel Zegler had become her own worst enemy. Make no mistake, this wasn't just a Rachel problem. This was a Disney crisis. For years, the studio has been hammered for live-action remakes that felt soulless and unnecessary, but Snow White was the tipping point. Internal sources claimed some executives wanted the film scrapped entirely. Marketing teams were reportedly instructed not to put Rachel front and center in future campaigns. She had become box office kryptonite. And the layoffs? They started hitting departments tied to the film, a brutal reminder of how one failed project can ripple through an entire studio. Rachel, meanwhile, continued giving interviews about her responsibility to speak the truth, as if audiences were rejecting her for being too enlightened rather than too condescending. She missed the point completely. Fans don't hate celebrities for having opinions. They hate when those opinions are weaponized to trash beloved characters, alienate audiences, and turn family movies into political battlegrounds. Disney gambled that Rachel could lead them into a new era of princess storytelling. Instead, she became a cautionary tale. And if that wasn't bad enough, her Hollywood future may already be in jeopardy. So here we are. Rachel Zegler isn't just an actress who tanked a movie. She's a symbol of Hollywood arrogance, of failed corporate rebranding, and of how fast the internet can turn on you. Her name is now shorthand for don't hire this person unless you want a PR disaster. Current projects are reportedly under review. Casting rumors suggest she's seen as radioactive. Not because she lacks talent, even her critics admit she can act, but because nobody wants to deal with the chaos she drags behind her. Studios don't want controversy, they want cash. And Rachel Zegler, she's not delivering either. The question now is, can she come back from this? Can she rebuild an image so thoroughly burned that even her tears are seen as performative? Or will she join the long list of Hollywood what could have been stories? One thing's for sure, audiences have moved on. They're done paying for lectures disguised as entertainment. They're done being insulted by the people they're supposed to cheer for. And unless Rachel Zegler learns to read the room, she may find that this fairy tale is already over.